Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction on how I like to teach a retrieve to hand behavior with my dogs. Some of you may have a dog that naturally retrieves, which is fantastic, and if you don't, that's totally fine. I'm going to show you one way, the way that I like to transfer the value onto things that I want my dog to retrieve from me. So I'm going to use Savvy. She already knows and has a pretty good retrieve, but I'm going to introduce the way I'd like for you guys to try it if you're struggling getting your dog to retrieve certain objects. Or maybe your dog has a favorite and you want them to work on something new. So I'm just going to show you what I do with any object that you can work on at home and see if it helps you, or if you have a new puppy, you can try using this to introduce a reliable retrieve. So all my dogs are here, so we'll see how well they behave and participate during this training session. So here is what we're going to do at the beginning. So I have a couple of different objects here that I'm going to use. So this is just a regular little tug toy that I have for my dog. So I'm going to show it to Savvy. Savvy already likes this toy and we play with it, so we can give it to her and put her mouth on it. And anytime she opens her mouth and puts her mouth on it, I'm going to give her a reward. The other thing, if your dog is hesitant to do that, any interaction with the toy or the object, yes, good girl, is going to get a mark and a reward. Yes, good girl. So that's how I'm going to start. Yes, good girl. One thing to consider is making sure that your dog isn't going to take the object away. Yes, good girl. So if you have a toy that your dog usually plays with by themselves, no man. I don't. Good girl. Stay. You want to make sure that you're not really using like a stuffed toy that your dog has free access to. You're going to use something specific that your dog isn't going to try and take away from you. And if your dog does typically try and take things away from you, what you can do is just have them on a leash so that they can't just get away. And also make sure that you don't let go of the toy. Like, don't put it on the ground or throw it and expect your dog to just naturally bring it back for you. So keep your hand on the toy when you introduce it. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. So that's how I'm introducing it. I'm calling this loading the target. So this is my target. Yes, good girl. Any interaction that my dog has with it gets a reward. Yes, good job, buddy. Good girl. So now my dog is pretty consistent about looking at the object or taking the object. My next step is going to be to put the object on the ground and have my dog pick it up for me. So I'm going to put it down. Yes, as soon as she picks it up, I'm going to put my hand on it. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. So again, my dog does not have the opportunity to take the toy away. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. So now my dog is learning that my hand goes on that object. Yes, good girl. And she's going to get the reward. Yes, good girl. So I'm marking not only when my dog is putting her mouth on the object, but I'm actually marking when the object is in my hand. So my dog picks it up. Yes, good girl. My hand goes on it. She gets that yes, and then she gets the cookies. Yes, good girl. So now the end goal for my dog is not just to pick up the object, it's to put that object into my hand. Good girl, down. No, down. Hey, good girl. Wait. Down. So she's learning that the goal is to get that object into my hand. Good girl. So now she's learned that pretty good. I'm going to make it a little bit more difficult for her. I'm not going to take the object. I want her to put that object into my hand. Yeah, good girl. So I'm helping her less. Yeah, good girl. Get it. Yeah, good girl. Good job, buddy. Good. And I can move the object a little bit further away. Yes, good girl. So I'm not going to throw it super, super far. Yes, good girl. But you can see she's understanding that that toy doesn't just come near me and gets dropped. It goes into my hand. Get it. Good try. Get it. Yes, good girl. Good job, buddy. Go get it. Yes, good girl. So now my dog has learned the behavior that I want. And now I'm going to introduce a verbal cue for her. So I'm going to use the word bring, which means I want you to get the object and bring it into my hand. Lie down, buddy. Good girl, you stay. So I'm going to put the object sort of a little bit further out. I'll throw it around behind Savvy. I'm going to tell her to get it because that's her cue to put her mouth on it. Yes, good girl. And then I'm going to tell her to bring. As soon as she grabs that object, she's going to bring it back to my hand. Good girl. Ready? Go get it. Bring. Yes, good girl. So I know that it's going to be reliable. My dog is going to bring it back to me. Bring. Yes, good girl. And if it goes in my hand, she gets a yes. Get it, bring. Yes, good girl. Get it, bring. Yes, good girl. If she accidentally misses, that's okay. She just doesn't get the yes. Yes, good girl. And I just would ask her to get it again. So say she drops it on the ground. Get it. Get it. Yes, good girl. I'm going to make sure that it goes into my hand before she gets that mark and that reward. Good. Good job, buddy. Good girl. So that is the way that I like to introduce a reliable retrieve. And I'm just going to take it nice and slow for my dog. If my dog isn't consistent about bringing it into my hand, then I'm not going to work on throwing it further and further away. I'm going to keep it super simple, and I'm going to work on just getting my dog to understand that it goes into my hand before I increase the difficulty of the behavior. So you can do this for a few minutes a couple times a day and make it really interesting for your dog so your dog is getting a reward. If your dog struggles switching from toy to reward, you can work on rewarding your dog with another toy or tugging with them, but really your dog will probably transfer pretty quickly to understand that they bite that toy and then they're going to get a reward. So work on that, and if you guys send me the videos, then we can work on it together. Awesome. Good job, guys. Good job.